And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tony Segretto.
And I'm Jackie Nesbro. We begin with the shocking case of a 14-year-old accused of cutting his classmate's throat at school.
And today, a grand jury indicted Michael Hernandez on first-degree murder charges. The indictment means Hernandez will be tried as an adult for the murder of Jaime Goff. Nick Boger joins us now live with more. Nick?
Well, few new details in the indictment that was handed down at mid-afternoon by a Dade County grand jury. At 14 years and 1 day, Michael Hernandez is not the youngest person ever indicted as an adult for murder one in this county. There have been 12-year-olds, even 13-year-olds facing murder one charges in adult court. But he is among the youngest, and his case closely follows that of another controversial life sentence given to a 14-year-old, Lionel Tate. Grand jurors are grim-faced as they enter the courtroom, having heard details of a heinous and infamous crime in a school bathroom. The February 3rd slashing killing at Southwood Middle School. The 14-year-old victim, Jaime Goff, allegedly killed by knife wounds to his throat. The 14-year-old suspect, grand jurors now agree, should face murder one charges as an adult.
In custody?
Suspect Michael Hernandez has been in custody in juvenile lockup since the day of the killing. The judge signs an order to have him moved to adult jail by tomorrow morning. Though the crimes are very different, the Hernandez case may well be affected by the echoes of the Lionel Tate murder conviction. Tate convicted of murder one in a Broward courtroom by jurors who didn't necessarily realize a conviction would mean an automatic life sentence without possibility of parole. Some jurors feeling that was too harsh a penalty for a defendant so young. Defense lawyer Brian Tannebaum.
They're going to try to find jurors, at least the state is going to try to find jurors that have an opinion about the Lionel Tate case that cannot be fair just because it's a child indicted for first-degree murder.
And of course, the state would try and keep jurors like that off of any jury in this Hernandez case. The cases are very different, though. The Tate case involved a playmate being killed while Lionel Tate was imitating wrestling moves. In the Hernandez case, he allegedly packed a knife and a latex glove in his book bag. That's clear evidence, say authorities, that he was premeditating or planning ahead a cold-blooded murder. The state attorney does not see jurors in the Hernandez case having Lionel Tate on their minds, and you'll hear from Catherine Fernandez-Rundle at 6 o'clock. Also, the public defenders assigned to defend Michael Hernandez had no comment on today's indictment. We're live in Miami. Nick Bogert, NBC6.
First at 6, the middle school murder. The 14-year-old accused of killing his classmate will stand trial as an adult. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jackie Nesbro.
And I'm Tony Segretto. Now, a grand jury has indicted Michael Hernandez on first-degree murder charges in the death of his classmate, Jaime Goff.
If convicted, Hernandez, an 8th grader, faces the possibility of life in prison without parole. Nick Bogert is outside our Miami studios with tonight's top story. Nick?
Well, the indictment offers few details. It is but one paragraph long, but clearly grand jurors were convinced that there was premeditation involved in the middle school murder, and that's murder one. A crime that will be tried in adult court with the very adult penalty of life in prison if there's a conviction. Homicide detective Sal Garofalo watches grand jurors hand up their indictment charging Michael Hernandez with murder one. It was Garofalo who brought Hernandez into the juvenile jail just 2 weeks ago. Authorities say the 8th grader had confessed to murder at Southwood Middle School. Say they'd found a bloody knife and latex glove in Hernandez's book bag. Say Hernandez told them pretty much everything except why he'd want to kill his classmate and friend, Jaime Goff. Today's indictment not surprising. The state attorney saying,
The law is very clear as to what you do with a capital crimes case, whether it's adult or juvenile.
But some say even if the law is clear, this case won't necessarily be easy because it follows close on the controversial conviction and life sentence for Lionel Tate. Brian Tannebaum's a veteran defense lawyer.
I think this is going to be a very tough case for the state with the Lionel Tate situation, and that there's going to be people that are going to make comparisons even though the facts appear to be different.
Tate originally convicted of murder one after he killed a 6-year-old playmate imitating wrestling moves. Some jurors were horrified that their verdict automatically meant life with no chance of parole for a boy who might be rehabilitatable. The state attorney says she's not worried that Hernandez jurors will have Tate on their minds.
Most jurors are instructed in all cases that they're not to relate to any other case. They're to look at each case on its merits.
And jurors looking at Michael Hernandez should see compelling evidence he planned to kill.
If the child was wearing a glove, which it is alleged, it shows that the child at least planned to do something with a deadly weapon and didn't want his fingerprints on the weapon.
Some lawmakers are urging that statutes be changed to allow kids convicted of murder one to have their sentences reviewed so the state doesn't throw away the cell door key permanently on the very young. The state attorney did not want to discuss efforts to rework those laws today.
That's a whole other issue for another day to discuss.
Not allow a death penalty on someone as young as Michael Hernandez. Life in prison would be the penalty. Hernandez should make a first appearance in adult court this morning, along with an order ordering that he be transferred from the juvenile jail to the adult facility. We're live in Miami. Nick Bogert, NBC6.
Now, a teen facing first-degree murder charges for the death of his classmate. Tonight, the controversy and a new look at the face of an accused killer.
14-year-old Michael Hernandez was photographed and booked into the county jail today after being charged yesterday as an adult in the murder of middle school classmate Jaime Goff. CBS 4's Gary Nelson is live at the Miami-Dade County Jail now with the latest. Gary?
Maggie, Michael Hernandez is no longer a juvenile detainee. Instead, the 14-year-old tonight is an inmate here at the Miami-Dade County Jail as he awaits trial on those first-degree murder charges. This jailhouse booking photo taken today, the first recent image of 14-year-old Michael Hernandez to be made public. The picture shot as he was booked into the county jail on a first-degree murder charge to face prosecution as an adult. In court, the boy's lawyer waived his presence and asked the judge for a delay until next week, the public defender declining to discuss the murder case.
We have no comment, but the case has been reset for Tuesday for Raymond. And on Tuesday, we'll be entering a plea of not guilty.
That not guilty plea may be entered by another attorney. Hernandez's parents, who have made no public statements, are reportedly hoping to get their son a private lawyer to defend against charges that he stabbed his friend and classmate Jaime Goff to death earlier this month at Southwood Middle School. Police say Hernandez has confessed to planning and carrying out the murder. In his school backpack, they say they found the murder weapon and a bloody glove. Those who defend against such cases suggest an insanity defense will be explored.
I think the first thing that has to be done is to establish whether this child is competent to go forward and whether there's any mental background that would indicate the motivation for why the crime was committed.
Why is a mystery. Police say while Hernandez has given a full confession, he has refused to offer an explanation, an essential element, experts say, if there's to be any hope of a plea deal, of avoiding mandatory life in prison.
You want to be able to talk to the prosecutor, talk to the victim's family, and give them some kind of explanation, and hopefully they would take that into account in offering this guy a better plea than what his sentence would be, which would be mandatory life.
Life for Michael Hernandez tonight is up there in a cell behind razor wire at the county jail. It is expected to be his lot in life for some time to come. And tonight, Michael Hernandez is on the 9th floor of the main county jail facility undergoing psychiatric evaluation, we are told. He will soon be transferred to a separate unit for more youthful offenders. We're live in Miami. Gary Nelson, CBS 4 News.
He is only 14 years old, but Michael Hernandez headed to an adult jail. Hernandez is accused of killing a classmate at Southwood Middle School. Local 10's Arlene Rodriguez reports on what Hernandez faces now.
14-year-old Michael Hernandez booked into the Miami-Dade County Jail. This is the first time he's processed into the adult jail system, and it comes on the heels of his indictment on a first-degree murder charge. Hernandez will be tried as an adult for the throat-slashing death of his friend Jaime Goff. If convicted, he could face the rest of his life in prison. The 9th floor of the county jail is where Michael Hernandez is right now being kept in isolation. That is also the psychiatric ward where he's being evaluated and where doctors are watching him closely.
Because of his age, because of the high-profile case, we saw it fit that he be monitored at our psychiatric facility.
Pending a doctor's approval, Hernandez will then be moved to the Turner Guilford Knight Correctional Center. He'll sleep in a 4x6 cell in the same juvenile wing where 95 other young offenders are housed. They all receive 3 meals a day and jailhouse schooling.
Did we have agreed to reset this?
No sign of Hernandez at his arraignment this morning. Instead, lawyers postponing it till next week. Exclusive video last night, hours after the indictment, as Hernandez gets a visit from his parents. As for the victims' parents, they were surprised over the indictment.
Mr. and Mrs. Goff, of course, are first and foremost very sad for their son and still suffering grief, but they are also sad for the Hernandez family.
So what happens to Hernandez now? This defense lawyer says the premeditation factor is key.
Did this child plan to commit this crime? And if so, what was his mental state at the time? Because if his mental state was not the mental state that a normal person would have, then that would negate there being premeditation.
And once again, Michael Hernandez remains in isolation here at the county jail. We're live in Miami. I'm Marlene Rodriguez, Local 10.